Hello. So, for those of you who know me or don't know me, I'm Tiana Michelle. I have conversations every Thursday that empower, that inspire, that I talk about dating, marriage, mental health. I've talked about politics, Black issues. We have these conversations every Thursday. And so I wanted to actually have this conversation because of all of the things that are occurring that we're, seeing before our eyes, but to really just have a real conversation, because everybody's talking about, okay, let's have more gun control, with these mass shootings that have occurred. And I kind of want people to weigh in on what they think, but I will tell you things that I have studied and conversations that I have had with certain individuals who are in law. And so we're going to get into it in a minute. So a little bit about me. Most times I'm on here and I do empowerment conversations. I just empower people to be their best selves. I am a serial entrepreneur, but I have a background. My bachelor's is in public policy and law. My master's is in public policy and law. And the doctorate that I am now working on, dissertation mode, is in public policy and law. So actually, my educational background is all public policy and law. And I have done advocacy for different organizations. I have helped to create policies, all types of stuff. So I really don't talk about that part because I just feel like it's okay to have the degree and all of that, but I feel like it's not beneficial when it comes to matters of the heart. And I think that a lot of times people get tied up into the politics of everything that occurs, but a lot of things occur because of people's mental health, their things that they're struggling with internally. So the empowerment that I give is to help people in that way. But I do advocacy work in the Down syndrome community and all of that kind of stuff. So that's just a little bit of background. I know that some of you all know that I have a business that's in the beauty industry, and I am a app creator for Down syndrome, so for awareness and advocacy, and it's a directory. And I sit on the board for an organization. So I got a little in the game, I put in a little work. I have, been on this political train for a minute, but that's not at the basis. I love to empower people, so that is what I do. So having these conversations is one of the ways that I do that, and to bring awareness to certain issues. So I wanted to have this conversation about, does more gun control really address the violence that is happening? So, people get outraged with mass shootings. And of course, any shooting that happens, to me, like, we should all be outraged about any shooting that happens. It shouldn't just be mass shootings. It should be any type of violence that happens against another person, we should feel some type of way. But I find that people don't respond to violence in the same way unless it's a mass shooting. And I'm like, okay, these are things that happen in Chicago all the time. They happen in cities like Chicago all the time. And you don't have people out like crying out and, you know, saying, okay, let's have stricter gun policies and all these different things. And I do find that to be a major issue, because if you look at, even looking at the news, if you look at the news in your local city, if you are in Chicago, if you're in Detroit, if you're in Houston, just different areas, kids get killed every day, people get killed every day, and they're not a part of anything. They're just innocent bystanders. You have some that are sitting in their homes minding their business, and bullets come flying through their homes. Like, these are everyday occurrences, but it doesn't hit people or affect people unless it's a mass shooting. And now they're like, okay, we need to have stricter gun laws. Well, looking at our country, right, grounded in the Constitution, you know, our Second Amendment rights is the right to bear arms. Now, while this may be, and other countries have their own policies with, you know, gun laws and things like that, we have seen where the shootings that have happened, if you actually look at the statistical data behind it, a lot of those shootings are not tied to registered gun owners. I mean, to be quite honest, a lot of those shootings are with guns that are not registered, may have been stolen. So there's a lot to be said with just that. Looking at the history of some of the things that have occurred, and I'm just going to go into it because I made some notes. But according to data statistics, last year, in 2021, there was a total of 693 mass shootings. The year before was 611, and 2019 was 417. Mind you guys, we were in the middle of a lockdown, so that part is alarming to me. And so we've had gun control laws that have been put in place since the 60s, where they put age limits on it. So you know, you got to be 18 years or older, can't have any convictions, all these different things. Then they turned around in 93 and mandated background checks. So then it's just been a constant battle, I'm gonna just say that, with the Supreme Court. And it's just been like, even presidents, because when there was a mass shooting that happened in 2016, Barack Obama wanted to take measures to require the dealers, the firearm dealers, to, you know, do background checks and all of this stuff. So putting more restrictions on the individuals who are selling them. And then you turn around and in 2017, Donald Trump kind of, he tried to impose a regulatory ban, but it kind of infringed upon the Second Amendment, and so then it was on hold. Like it didn't work because it infringed on the Second Amendment rights that we're given as citizens, right? But there has been like a constant battle with what to ban, what not to ban here, even in other countries. But so I'm just gonna say this. I've had conversations with members of law enforcement, and some of the information that, you know, they told me about once a firearm is obtained, how quickly it goes back on the streets. And I'm like, well, who's putting them there? Because, you know, regular citizens don't have access to this stuff. So who's actually putting this stuff back on the streets? And then years ago, I want to say between maybe 2000 and maybe 2006 and 10, I want to say that there was things that were happening where some of the guys that I was friends with that lived in Chicago were saying that they would find crates of firearms in the alleyways. And I didn't believe this. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I did not believe this. But they were saying that these guns were guns that you had to have like all types of security measures in order to get in the first place. And of course, then, like, to me, it wasn't an issue that I was like really into. Like, so I was just like, well, okay, whatever. But then I was kind of curious to see, like, was there any information out there about this? And it actually was. There was articles that were written about occurrences of this happening. You might be able to still find some, but there were gang members that actually attested to this thing happening, where they would see crates that were placed strategically in alleyways that had different assault rifles, different firearms, and I can't say that I saw this, but this was something that was going on allegedly. And there were actually occurrences of this happening, and people testified to this. Now, I don't know where them people are today, because once you divulge some information, sometimes, you know, things happen. But like, there's something to be said with that part. But I don't know, like, looking at I'm sorry, I didn't even say hello. I usually say hello. Looking at the that information in itself, and knowing, if you actually do the research to understand, like, are these individuals that are committing these crimes or doing these mass shootings, what is the actual statistics behind it of them actually purchasing the gun legally. Because if you actually look at the data, not every shooting that happens is someone that went to the gun dealer to get the gun. It's easier to get a gun buy it off the streets than it is to actually go to a dealer. It would take longer to go to a dealer and get the gun rather than you can go down the street and get one if you know the right person. Like it's something to be said with that. And I don't even think that politicians really look at that people really look at that. They're looking at, oh, let's put all of these restrictions in place. But historically, when you put restrictions in place, anytime there are restrictions put in place, who does it affect first? Usually minorities. And those who usually are following the books. Like, they're following the rules. They're doing it by the book. So now it's going to make it harder for those people who are gun owners or want to be gun owners, because there are a lot of people that are in fear for their lives. So you see people now, getting their conceal and carry. You see people now, because gun sales have gone up within the last year. But of those gun sales, we'll see the data statistics once this year is over with, honestly. But of those gun sales, if there's any more occurrences like the ones we've seen in the past, we need to look at, are those the ones that are actually doing all of this stuff? How are they actually purchasing these things? Are they actually going to an actual dealer, or are they buying them off the streets? When you look at all of the data, most of the violence that happens are guns that are bought off the street. Even I was reading an article about a guy who lived in Chicago, and he went to the south suburbs to do a exchange. He was gonna make like $7,500 off of selling guns, right? So he had got a hold of some guns, and he wanted to make a quick buck or two, and went, met up with these guys and did the deal. And he was doing this regularly. Well, of course, he got caught. And he was saying, he's been doing this for years, and it's the quickest way to get a gun is to get it from the streets, not to actually go to the dealer. So if he's saying this and he's the one that has been doing these transactions, I think that he would have knowledge on what's going on. A lot of times people will be like, oh, well, that person is a criminal. Well, wouldn't you like to know the inside information if crimes are being committed? Wouldn't you want to know from those people who are actually committing the crimes what's really going on? When you talk to legislators, they only have the knowledge that they have based on the statistics. They're looking at statistics. They're not in the streets. They're not, they don't have any connection. They see black and white. They don't see any gray areas. And that's the one thing that I don't really particularly care about when it comes to public policy, because everything is not black and white, and everything is not, well, we put this in place and it's going to solve all the problems, because it does not. Because there's still other things that have to be addressed. And so even when you talk about there have been occurrences, and this is the other thing that I'm going to say, that you also have to look at the history of guns, the history of drugs. All of that stuff goes together. And the different task force that have been, you know, supposedly on this, because, you know, under Reagan there was supposed to be this war on drugs, but then people were divulging information, different agents and different things that were saying, hey, you know, the United States put these in certain neighborhoods. It was done under Reagan. It was done under Clinton. It was done under some precedents, okay? And you can go research this for yourself. But if that was happening where drugs were planted in certain neighborhoods, then just think about whether or not guns are being planted in certain neighborhoods. It's very possible. The people that attest to this, the actual agents that attest to this, they are no longer with us, okay? So that's that on that. But we really need to look at this issue, because is it a one size fits all? I don't think so. Like, honestly, I don't think so. You all can chime in if, you know, you would like to, but I think that it's a huge problem that is constantly going to occur, because it's not something that can necessarily be regulated through policies. Yes, you can say, well, because I know Pritzker just talked about passing, I don't know if it actually passed yet, I didn't go check, but passing laws so that people that purchase guns, like, there's a way that they can purchase them, and I forgot what it's called. It's a term for it, but they basically can put it together. I forgot the term. You all can tell me the term, but they can basically, they don't have to, it's almost like a quicker way for them to get it, and they can just assemble it themselves. But like, he was talking about passing stricter laws with that, where they make that, where people can't purchase guns like that. But even so, I'm like, okay, what is the statistical data on this? Because still, the person is registered in order to get this. They're registered. Their name is is there. So you have the information, but this is not the totality of the issue. It's like, I feel like politicians should just get together with different communities and have these conversations about what's really going on, because they really don't know. Like, they have a you know, their whatever their statistical data says, but by putting more laws in place, it just makes it harder for people who already have them, who want to own them, who will probably be doing it by the book, versus the ones that are purchasing off the street. So my question is, how does that still make citizens safe? Because you are essentially unarming them, and then giving more power to those who purchase guns illegally. Not only that, you can spark a bigger problem of more people purchasing guns illegally. So I don't even think that by by doing that and adding more policies and saying, okay, well, you know, do this, do that, like, I don't even think that that's going to fix anything. And granted, these last two mass shootings, like, they went through these people planned this. Like, they seriously planned this. These these guys really like planned out these shootings to the T. But these are mass shootings. What about the shootings that happen in the everyday neighborhoods? And that's the bigger issue, that this is happening. We have these numbers of 600 and something that have happened within the last year, but what are the numbers that are happening in the neighborhoods on a annual basis? What are the numbers, the statistics of that happening on a monthly basis? So in Chicago, there have been, and I'm gonna just say this, like, I have lost people to gun violence. My uncle got killed. People that I've gone to school with, people that I was friends with, no longer with us. Gun violence. These guns were not registered. Like, these were not, legal purchases. Like, no, it was all illegal. But not only that, the shootings that happen on the expressways, we got expressway shootings. Shootings that happen in the neighborhood, across the street from schools, in front of schools, at the churches, at funerals, at whatever. Like, it speaks to a much bigger issue that I really believe that politicians should actually sit down with community members and get a better understanding of what's going on. This is the one thing that, like I said before, they don't do. Having a roundtable discussion with people in the community to say, okay, what's going on? What's your experience? What have you experienced since you've been living in this neighborhood? And you will get the stories. You will get stories of people that have lost loved ones to gun violence. And I remember a few years back, there was a lady who lost her whole family, all her kids, every last one of her kids. I want to say that was either 2018 or 2019. She lost all her kids. They were grown. I think all of them were grown, male and female, all her kids. Gun violence. And it's really crazy because nobody gets outraged over this stuff, but we really should be, saying, hey, there's something that needs to be done, some investigations that need to be done, and even in solving the crimes. This is the other part. I find it funny that when it comes to these mass shootings or to anything that is done on a quote-unquote bigger scale or done to a particular population, the crimes are solved like this. They're solved like by the end of the week. You already know who done it. It's even crazier just thinking about like the whole Jussie Smollett situation, and even though that's not a gun violence situation, but it was allegedly a crime that was committed, right? And then the city of Chicago put all of these tools, all these resources into solving something because they was just like, oh, we're gonna, we're right on it, trying to, I guess, prove something. I don't know. They wanted to be the first to do something. That's how I felt about it. But then it was a hoax. So now you come back and you're like, oh, now we want to, hold him accountable. But my thing is, if you can solve crimes that quickly because it's a celebrity, you should be solving crimes that quickly because it's a person, a human being that lost their life, somebody's mother that's grieving, somebody's grandmother, somebody's something, kid, whatever it is, whoever it is. Crime should be solved that quickly. And I don't understand why they don't care. It's like they don't care. So I think that there is a much bigger issue that we have on our hands, because what is it really saying about how the country, how our cities, view us as a people? Because this not only happens in black neighborhoods, it definitely happens in Hispanic neighborhoods. Like clockwork. We face similar issues. I know black people, we as black people always say, oh, well, it's our issue and this, the people don't understand, but Hispanics be experiencing the same type of violence and stuff like that in their hoods. So it's an issue. It's an issue. It's a minority issue. But more specifically, there is something that needs to be done in a sense where we need to be upset. We need to be outraged. We need to, just like people were protesting for George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and all these different people are very, how you say his last name, Lord Jesus, help me. But doing all of that protesting, but how much protesting happens when, a 4-year-old, because there was just a kid that got killed, like, just last week that I know of. I haven't watched the news this past week, like, because I just can't. I just can't. Like, it's too much. It's too much going on. And I've been in a protect my peace mode, but from time to time I look at, news stories, but I used to full on watch the news from the time it started, at 4:30 a.m. to the time that, to the 9 o'clock segments, and when they start talking about, all of the movies and things like that. I used to watch the news from start to finish for hours and hours on end. I can't, because it's so much negativity, it's so much going on. But with all of the things that are going on, I think that the deeper rooted issue is things that people are experiencing. Because even in looking at the guy that just did this last shooting, which absolutely made no kind of sense, and my heart goes out to all of those families and all of the families that have ever experienced any type of loss, through violence and all of that kind of stuff. My heart does go out to all of you all. But in assessing this individual, he had some challenges, some major challenges that were not addressed. So the bigger issue is, to me, the heart and your mental health. Those are the two things that really stick out to me in every situation. Because I'm gonna just tell you, when my uncle got killed, first of all, this was during a time that it was not common. It was not common at all. This is 2001. So I was a junior in high school. And it was just during a time where nobody would ever expect anything like that, right? And then it was done by somebody who was supposed to be his friend. The trial, I'm gonna just say the trial was garbage, because there was so many issues and so much back and forth, and it was, you know what, it was taxing, and it was really unfair going through that experience, because one, you know, to me it wasn't taken seriously, and this is just my perspective. At that time I was 16, and he was 5 years older than me, so he had just turned 21, and it was a lot. Like, it was a lot of back and forth. I don't know. You know what? I never asked my grandmother how she felt about that. Like, we didn't really talk about that kind of stuff. But in losing my uncle to gun violence at a stage and an age where it was not discussed or, you know, common, it was really devastating. But not only that, the fact that his friend did it, and so-called friend, I'm gonna just say that. And when we got to the bottom of why he did it, it was really wow. So it really speaks to people's mental state. Like, people be straight going through a whole thing in their mind and lashing out because of their feelings. So all of these different things speak to deeper issues. And I don't think that putting gun control laws in place is going to be the be-all to these issues. Hello. It's just not. Like, I feel like I said before, that politicians really need to sit down with the community to find out what their experience is. Because all of this stuff, you said agreed. Yeah, like, all of this stuff, they look at it and they're like, it's a black and white issue. Oh, we just impose more and just do more. And then it affects us as black people. That's all I'm saying. When there's more laws imposed, it really affects us. Because then they're like looking at us crazy when we come through the door trying to do the classes and all of this kind of stuff. Like, it becomes a much bigger issue. You said I'm concealing carry, and it's not us, the legal carrier. Exactly. And that's what I said earlier in the conversation. It's not the legal carriers that are actually committing all of these crimes. It's the ones that can get it off the streets. And technically, you can get the guns off the streets quicker than you can if you were to go to a gun dealer. Like, you can literally go outside your door if you know a person and get a gun like that off the streets. And so if you got to go through a gun dealer and you going through all these different background checks or whatever, and they like, oh, can you, let's just say, for instance, they tell you to come back because you don't, you know, maybe something is not in order, maybe something don't check out. What if that same person was like, you know what, I ain't finna do all that. I'ma just go, I know, you know, such and such got this. I'ma just go, 3,500, get this, we good. You said it takes 3 days to buy a gun. It takes 2 seconds if you know the right person on the streets. That's a good point. That's a very good point. It takes 3 days to buy a gun, but it takes a person who just knows somebody in the streets to get it automatically. Like, they don't have to go through no extra measures, no nothing. And like I was referring to the article about the guy who was actually, and I'm gonna see, let me see. They say they do that because if you into it with someone, they figure you'll be calm after 3 days. That that's not true. Like, they might figure that, but if you into it with somebody, you might still be into it with them after 3 days. But okay. But even still, okay, so you go home, you cool off, not even cool off. What if you go home and you just decide, man, I know, you know, my guy know a few people or whatever. Let me see if I can go through, you know, some different channels to get whatever I want. What if you decide that? Again, it's the same thing. You can get it quicker off the street than you can legally. So it's not necessarily a legal issue. It's more so of accessibility and how it's being accessed. And so, but politicians don't really want to have those conversations, I feel like, because even in going through what our family had to experience with my uncle getting killed, like, it was drawn out. The case was long and drawn out, and it was just like, for no reason. You already knew who did it, you know, you already had them, and you still dragging out this case. And we would appear in court, and then they'd be like, oh, you know, this has happened, we have to, you know, what did you say? But again, a person who can legally buy it will do it legally. That's true. That's true. If you can legally buy it, you would legally buy it. But I'm just saying, like, the turnaround for it, for a person that is, if a person was really on something where they were trying to, let's just say hypothetically, commit some type of crime, it would be quicker to get it off the streets than to go to a dealer. Then on top of that, they wouldn't want their name attached to that. Like, I don't know no criminals will give their names when they commit the crimes. Like, somebody that's gonna steal from the store is not about to give you their first and last name when they go and steal. Like, so a criminal is not going to give you that information. So why would they go to a gun dealer, go through background checks, and then go out and commit a crime when it's gonna tie back to them? Like, that makes absolutely no sense. You said they kept continuing. Y'all, they did. They eventually charged him, and then he confessed. He confessed and said why he did it. It was over a check. It was over a check. My uncle lost his life for no reason because the dude was jealous of a girl that my uncle dated. Like, my uncle got some girl he dated in high school, and they was grown butt men, 21 years old. Yeah, that. But the fact that the legal system was dragging their feet, like, but you, and this goes back to what I was saying. You said don't get emotional. You know, I'm holding it in, but it goes back to the, you said I see that tear falling down. Ain't no tear falling down, but I'm keeping it in. It's just that they send families through so much, to me, that they don't even need to, especially when they know who did it and they have the person in custody. That's the other part. It's like, why do we have to go through this song and dance when you already know? Even when they don't know, because there are so many crimes that have gone unsolved, and we need to talk about that. That's a bigger issue. There are, like I was saying earlier, like, if the city of Chicago could put all of their time and resources behind Jussie Smollett, and we already know that he made it up. Like, I'm just saying, he made it up. So, you did all that. He done made it up. And look how quickly they were able to find out the who done it, the when, what, where, why, how, whatever, everything came out. This is the same amount of time that it would take for them to solve crimes if they really wanted to do it. But they do not. And it's so many that go unsolved. And it's funny because the crazy is there are more cameras in the city of Chicago. So I feel like you got footage. There's a camera everywhere. Just about everywhere. So you got footage. You said, man, F that, the hell, all these car warranty people can find you, but you can't find someone who committed a crime. Exactly. And I'm like, where the heck all these car warranty people come from? That's a whole nother topic for another day. Like, anyway, like, exactly. How are you not able to solve these crimes? And I'm like, you put all of these resources behind this. It's because it's not pressing. And then crimes go years and years and years without being solved. You'll have DNA evidence. You'll have all of these different things. And it's crazy because if the crime was committed against someone that was not of color, I'm going to just say that, they would move their feet a little bit quicker. They would make up stories because they want to get somebody. We have seen that. We have seen that happen time and time again. It happened with Emmett Till. It happened with what was the Dixmoor 5 or 6 or how many? I want to say it was 5 of them, but a white girl gets killed, and I'm gonna just say that this is what happened in that case because I actually did a paper on them. But this white girl got killed, and they were looking for, you know, who did it. Like, this was back in the early 90s. Was it early 90s? 90 something. And so they found the girl's body. It was, you know, off the expressway, all this other stuff. And so they wind up coming across these kids, and they just start questioning them. They're questioning them without their parents. They doing the same thing that they did to the guys from When They See Us, those guys. They did the same exact things. And so they actually winded up charging these guys because they coerced them into a confession by threatening them, and now they're in the system. Like, they got out a few years back. We're in 2022, so I want to say they got out maybe 10 years ago. Maybe 10 years ago. I did this story like 7 years ago, so those details are a little cloudy, but all in all, you can actually Google this story. It's a real story, and it's because they wanted, you know, they wanted somebody behind bars. And so, but when it comes to crimes that are committed against us, people of color, either they go unsolved, they're not taken seriously, and it's always chalked up to maybe they were a part of some gang when it comes to our, you know, black boys. Maybe they, you know, was involved in some things that they shouldn't have been involved in. It's always got to lead to some type of a criminal behavior or something of that nature, but the crime is never solved. And it's like, okay, if you could put all of the tools and resources behind Jussie. You can put all of the tools and resources in solving these cold cases, and even the cases that are happening now. Start with the stuff now and then work your way back. But I just feel like, and that was one of the things, like, years ago, I wanted to go into law, like, as far as being an attorney. And I thought, I can help so many people and this, that, and the other. And then I thought about, becoming a politician because, it was just one of those things that I thought that I could make a difference that way. But then I thought about it and I was just like, everything is always tied up in some type of red tape. And I feel like the most, you can do only what you can do. That's what I'm gonna just say. And so it's not something where it's a fix all, like you can just fix it overnight. It's nothing like that. But usually people that get into that because they want to save and all of this kind of stuff, they're like, oh, I can make a difference. But I realized from my own experiences that it took a little bit more than that. Even down to if it's an election year, what's on the agenda. We even seen that and nobody's really talking about this extensively like they're talking about everything else. But Mayor Lightfoot has been really like criticized, hello, about, how she's been handling things. But did people really criticize Rahm Emanuel for a lot of the stuff that happened under his watch? Like, when I say criticize, I mean heavily criticized, to the point where he's, unable to move around in politics. No. But Lightfoot is more criticized than he was. But a lot of stuff happened under his watch. A lot of police shootings happened under his watch. A lot of nonsense happened under his watch. And those crimes and things that was committed under his watch, a lot of them wasn't solved. They was pushed under the rug because during that time, like when it came time for election year, he was trying to make himself look squeaky clean. And a lot of things went under the radar. That's all I'm gonna say. You can do the research yourself, but a lot of things went under the radar. So I feel like, there's only so much you can do. There's only so much if you are mayor, let me just say this, the mayor does have the opportunity to make changes. Senators have opportunity to make changes, but it still boils down to what the agenda really is, just like the president. What is the agenda of all parties involved? If all parties involved, their agenda is one way and your agenda is another way, you got to go their way, because that's the totality of the agenda. That's all I'm gonna say. That's how that kind of goes. So you feel like you want to make a difference, and in some instances you can, but I just felt like getting into politics, I want to get my hands dirty in that sense, because you got to get your hands dirty. It's a greasy game. That's what I'm gonna say it like that. But yeah, like, I feel like I could make more of a change in what I'm doing now, working with organizations, doing things with disabilities, working with different laws on different organizations with different policies, legislation, things of that nature. So that part, I feel like is better suited, because then too, you know, I'm able to have the conversation with, which I had conversations with senators and, you know, different state representatives, in making some changes to different policies that affect people with disabilities. So I have done that. But as far as, you know, things like crime and gun control, I feel like there has to be more than just a few people, because there's not a lot of, we don't feel the pull, and I'm gonna say this, Black people, we don't feel the pull when it comes to government. Like, it's not a whole lot of us in these seats making decisions. So it's a little bit harder to get things passed when it's only, you know, a handful, a sprinkle full of people of color in these seats. So I don't know if people have thought about going into politics or becoming a senator or whatever, but the only way for it to for things to be different is for more of us to get into political offices, more of us to be well versed on political issues, but also more of us to call for change and not just cry out when there are mass shootings that happen, that we are actually crying out because, and I'm gonna tell you, protesting and doing things that actually will make some people pay attention. One of the things I will say is, with these different protests, I'm gonna just tell you my honest my honest view on a lot of these protests. The reason why things were not done the way that they should have been is because the protesting was not effective. It was not effective because it did not disrupt the economy. It was more like they looked at us like we were having some type of a temper tantrum and, okay, get them whatever to pacify them now, but did it really make a change? We have to be more strategic when we're doing this kind of stuff. I think that, I think that when we are asking for changes, policy changes, we have to get a little bit more strategic on how we want to operate. What is it that gets their attention? And I'm going to tell you the secret sauce to that is anything that affects the economy, anything that disrupts the money is how you get their attention. Study Martin Luther King, study how he did that, and that's how the attention was brought. Now, you know, I don't know if people are ready to sacrifice their, you know, they living beings for that, but that is actually how you affect change in a bigger way, is by disrupting the economy. If you don't disrupt the economy, they're not going to take you seriously. That's all I'm gonna say. That is my tip for those who are looking to be activists or going into activism or advocating or whatever it is that you're trying to do that's dealing with politics. If you want something to change, to move, it has to be tied up in economics, because that's the only thing that moves the country. Capitalism is only moved by economics. So whatever your strategy is, make sure that you strategize that thing to affect more than just the city, more than just that it's going to interrupt a lot of things if everybody is on board. So that's all I'm gonna say to that part. Um, I think that the only way that gun control, and it's not even a fix all. Like I said earlier in the live, there's no fix all, because in some of the things that the stories that I have heard, which I'm gonna leave the live up so you all can play it back, because I'm not going to repeat that part. But some of the things that I have heard about, actually I'm gonna put it on YouTube. You all can go back, but it will be up for 24 hours on Instagram and Facebook, so you can watch it from the beginning and see what I said about that. But from those instances, it's a deeper issue that's going on when it comes to guns, and it's more easily obtained by going in the neighborhood than it is to actually go to an actual dealer. So in looking at that, I think that citizens need to actually go to politicians. You want to change, go to these politicians, disrupt some of the economics of how things are going. That's what I'm going to say. And force them to listen to you about things that are happening within your community, because just by passing these blanket regulations, it's not a one size fits all. It's not. So we really need to be strategic if this is something that you want to change, and also do your homework and look at the statistics of gun violence on the who's actually committing the crimes. Is it the legal gun owners, or is it coming from somewhere else? That's all I'm gonna say to that. Look at your data statistics. It's a lot of research out there. A lot of people don't like to read it, but we can't just be outraged when mass shootings happen. We have to be outraged when this stuff happens on a daily basis, because it happens on a daily basis. We can't just say to them, because now, you have senators and state representatives that are like, oh, we really need to change some things. And it's like, okay, so you make it harder for people to purchase them, but then you unarm your citizens, and then criminals are more armed than your citizens. So how is this effective? That's really what that is, because politicians usually see black and white. They usually see the data statistics. They're not actually looking at what's really going on, because they have no ear to the neighborhoods to know what is really being experienced, what people are really seeing. They're just going based off, it's almost like most of the policies created are in a reaction to something. There's nothing that happens as a preventive measure. It's always them reacting to a situation that happens. When, in all honesty, if you're an analyst or a political analyst or some type of strategist, you already know that there's a higher possibility of certain occurrences. So if you were actually doing the research, you would know that certain things will occur if you don't have certain things in place. But a lot of the times they make laws because people have experienced something. Just like something on a smaller scale, when stop signs are usually placed in certain neighborhoods, it's because that area has been known to be a high traffic accident area. So now here we're going to put stop signs, and a lot of times that stuff is because somebody died. A few people had to die in order for stuff to happen. So that's the stuff that they don't tell you. Like, it's a lot of stuff that most people don't know, but if you are well versed, or you educate yourself on policies and things like that, then you would understand how it actually works. But Child, this is not an overnight situation when it comes to gun control. I really believe that in order for us to see some type of a change, because most of the things that are happening in Black and brown communities. Most of the violence occurrences are happening within our own communities. It's not these mass shootings, it's really in our communities. And this is not being televised on a global scale, it's being televised on a local scale. But how many times have you turned on the news and saw that a little kid got killed, or several kids, or gunfire went through somebody's house and killed somebody's grandmother, or these are regular occurrences, but they're not being talked about on a national level. Mass shootings have to happen in order for people to start a conversation. But the thing about it is, it's a conversation. Eventually the conversation's gonna die down. Eventually people gonna go back to their everyday lives, and it's gonna be like nothing even happened. Meanwhile, the family still has to deal with the effects of the loss of whoever their loved one is. So it's still an issue. And also, in that meantime, in between time, there are other people that are going to experience the same thing. So it just speaks to, this is a way major issue that really politicians need to sit down with members of the community and have a conversation. I feel like, we as a people, as a race of Black people, because we have had a lot of that to happen to us. And I shared, we lost my uncle to gun violence. I've lost friends. So at the same time, it's a Black issue because we're used to dealing with that. Like, I don't know. I know a lot of people that have lost a lot of people to gun violence. So I think that at a point, Black people have become desensitized to this type of a thing because it has become more of an everyday occurrence, which is really sad to say, but it means that we need to speak up. We need to do something. We need to make some changes. But the only way that those changes can be made is if we actually do something that draws attention. And I already said what draws attention, so I don't have to repeat that part. But yeah, we really need to do that. And then people really, the deeper rooted issue is what is conflicting people in their spirits, their minds, their hearts. That's a deeper issue. That's a spiritual issue. Now, you just gotta pray on that part, but then you can affect change that way too by sending your prayers up. So don't dismiss that part. But for action, because you pray and then you gotta take action, getting together and actually talking to your local politician. If you gonna protest, and I'm gonna just say this, don't be protesting on the Dan Ryan. The Dan Ryan does not interrupt any type of economics whatsoever. That is why nothing really happens from those protests. If you was on the tollway, I'm gonna just say that. That's the $1 billion baby. If y'all was on the tollway, that's all I'm gonna say. Stop protesting down Michigan Avenue. That ain't doing nothing. It's really not. You got to interrupt some stuff. And then, like, when I was working downtown, they would be protesting at 10 o'clock. And I'm like, everybody at work at 10 o'clock, so you not stopping nothing. Like, most people are at work by 7 o'clock. So what are you really interrupting when you're protesting? It's almost like you're just making noise. You got to disrupt something in order for change to come. Even think about your own change. When you go through changes within you, something in you is shaking. It's interrupted. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. You got to interrupt that thing in your whatever you trying to do. And when you want change to happen, you got to interrupt and shake up some things. So that's all I'm gonna say to this. I thank you all for joining the conversation. Did you all have anything else you wanted to add? I know we had someone on here that was just talking about how it takes 3 days to buy a gun and all this stuff, and hello, and he was saying that basically, you know, he agreed that it's quicker to get it off the streets than to actually purchase it. So I really think that, we were talking about does more gun control laws basically address the issue of violence within our neighborhoods and in the United States. That was what the topic was for those who are joining. Someone just asked. And so I went through, y'all gonna have to play this back because I done went through some of the a small brief history, and then I talked about certain instances, and then what really drives change, and why change has not occurred, and what's really going on in these streets. So I'm not going to repeat all of that because it's all towards the beginning of the live, but you'll be able to fast forward. I'm gonna leave this up for 24 hours on Facebook and Instagram. And then it'll be available on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, Crown Convos with Tiana and Michelle. So you can go there and see all of the past conversations, the people that have come on. You can always request to come on and have a conversation, or, you know, drop something in the chat. You say you'll catch the replay. Yeah, because I've been on here for an hour 30 minutes. So yeah, I'm trying not to go longer like in the past where I'd be going 2 hours. I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying to keep it under minimal. People have told me that I need to have these conversations more than once a week. We will try to do that, because your girl got quite a few things that she doing. So I don't know. Maybe I should just do something that's on the fly. Maybe I'll do that. Just do something on the fly, and we can just actually have conversations. You all can come on. And then whatever topics that you think should be discussed, whether it be black issues, you know, dating issues, whatever it is, let me know. We can talk about it. We can get into it. If it's an issue that I don't really know, I'll research it. I do that too. And we can talk about it. We can get your take on certain things, because these topics are for their community conversations. They are to get you to thinking, to shed light on different issues. That's what this is about. So it's not just for me to state my opinion, but for us to actually have a conversation about different issues that affect us as a culture, affect us individually, spiritually, mentally. So that's what these conversations are about. And then bringing solutions to the table. That's the other part. I want people to actually talk about what the solutions are. even if you send me a DM about what you would like, to happen, or, maybe of some issues that you would like to maybe address, maybe have a town hall, we could do that too. Like, I'm not opposed to that. I'm open to that. So yes, we can do that. Because the other thing that I am working on is changing some things with law enforcement training. So for all of you law enforcement officers out there, a sister will be needing some assistance, because I can go into details, once you all reach out. But let me know, if you can assist the sister out. And it's just, well, I'm not gonna disclose it on here, but it is something that I think should be looked at. And so let your girl know if you can help a sister out. Yeah, because currently the trainings that have been occurring are occurring in neighborhoods that are predominantly white, and I would like those trainings to be in predominantly black communities. Blink, blink, blink. And so can we talk about it? So hit your girl up, because she want to do that. She want to, talk about that, and maybe, you can tell me how to go about such things in our communities, because I've seen where a lot of the white communities were more white, smaller communities were more they received it more than other ones. So maybe you all can give a little insight to that, and maybe if you all want to join forces on certain things, can do that too. But yeah, I'll let your girl, because I do more than just beauty, y'all. I do more than just lashes and all that. Your girl got degrees in public policy, so your girl be working behind the scenes. I don't talk about it in front of the camera, but I be behind the scenes. I'm the behind the scenes person on some things. So it's yeah, working on some stuff. So with that, I thank you all for joining the conversation. If you have conversations that you want to have, let your girl know, let a sister know. And for you law enforcement officers out there, hit your girl up in the inbox and the DM, because I have some questions, and I really want to change a few things. But I can't talk about what it is on this platform. So, and it's not defund the police, okay? Let me just say that it's not one of them. It's not that, not at all. But yeah, it's just amending some training. That's all. So, anyways, thank you all for joining, and I will see you back here next week. You all have a wonderful weekend, because it's a long weekend. I might just come back on here. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. So I'll see you all soon. Bye.